I've been where you are right now, standing at a crossroads, feeling like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. The thought of quitting feels almost comforting, doesn't it? When everything seems too much to bear, when you feel like you've given your all and it still isn't enough. The easiest thing in the world is to just walk away. But let me tell you something, I've been there, and I refused to give in. I found the strength to push past that voice, the one telling me to quit, and I fought back. I chose not to listen because deep down, I knew I will never quit. The beginning of despair. Remember the day everything came crashing down. The company I had poured my heart and soul into was on the brink of collapse. I had sacrificed everything for this. My nights spent working, my days lost in meetings, all leading to this point of failure. The calls I had been dreading finally came. Investors were pulling out, the bank accounts were drained, and I was left holding the pieces of something I couldn't fix. What hurt more than the financial ruin, though, was the doubt from the people I loved. The people I thought would stand by me. Maybe it's time to quit, Alex. Maybe this isn't for you, they said. Their words cut deeper than anything else. I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the walls, feeling more isolated than I had ever felt before. The silence was deafening, and in that moment, I thought, what if they're right? What if I really have failed this time? But then, something inside me stirred. A quiet voice, almost a whisper, said, "Not today, not yet." And that was the first moment I decided to fight back. The unseen struggle, what nobody saw, was the constant internal battle. The nights where I couldn't sleep, the endless worry about where the next paycheck would come from. I would sit at my desk for hours, staring at numbers, trying to make sense of it all. But nothing made sense. Nothing came easy. Every time I felt like I was close to finding the answer, something would fall apart. I reached out for help, but I felt like I was drowning. Friends and family had already given up on me. Their words stung, and I couldn't blame them for doubting me. I had failed, over and over. But still, I pressed on. There were days I could barely bring myself to get out of bed, but somehow I kept showing up. I kept working, kept trying. Every day became a battle, and every day I told myself the same thing. I will never quit. The breaking point then came. The letter I had feared the most. Your company is bankrupt. I read those words over and over, hoping they would change. But they didn't. And with that one piece of paper, everything I had worked for felt like it was slipping away. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt tight. I remember stumbling out of my apartment, aimlessly walking down the street, unsure of where to go next. That's when I saw it. A faded mural on the side of a building across the street. The hardest climbs lead to the most beautiful views. It was like the universe had sent me a message. In that moment, everything clicked. Yes, the climb was hard. It had been brutal, to say the least. But what if the pain was leading me to something greater? Maybe I wasn't at the end of the road. Maybe I was just in the middle of it. I will never quit. The long roadie got back to work. It wasn't easy, nothing ever is, but I kept pushing forward. I took a hard look at my mistakes and used them as fuel to build a new plan. The fear was still there, constantly nipping at my heels, but I refused to let it control me. There were days when the exhaustion was unbearable, when I didn't know how I would make it through, but I kept working. I kept moving. It wasn't about the immediate rewards anymore. It was about proving to myself that I could overcome this. I stopped thinking about the outcome and focused solely on the process. Each failure became a lesson, every obstacle a stepping stone. And no matter what, I told myself every single day, I will never quit. Then, out of nowhere, it happened. The call I had been waiting for. The one I thought would never come. The investor who had once laughed at my idea, who had told me it was too risky, was on the other end of the line, saying they were interested in what I had built. My heart stopped. I couldn't believe it. I had spent so much time hearing no, that hearing yes felt like a dream. But it wasn't a dream. It was real, and it was a turning point. The road was still long, but for the first time in a while, I felt like I was on the right track. The work, the pain, the sacrifice, it was all starting to pay off. But it wasn't just about the success. It was about the journey that had brought me here, the resilience I had discovered within myself. I will never quit. As my business began to grow, I realized something. Success wasn't about the accolades or the money. It wasn't even about proving anyone wrong. It was about the person I had become in the process. Every setback, every challenge had shaped me into someone I never thought I could be. Stronger, more determined, unstoppable. I learned that true success isn't measured by what you achieve, but by who you become along the way. I had fought, struggled, and overcome, and now I was living proof that the hardest climbs really do lead to the most beautiful views. So, let me ask you one final question. Do you feel like quitting? Do you feel like it's all too much? I've been there. I know that pain, that exhaustion. I've stood in your shoes, wondering if it was all worth it. But I'm here to tell you, you're closer than you think. The hardest part of the journey is always the beginning, but every step you take gets you closer to something bigger than you can imagine. So don't quit now. Don't give up, because just like me, you have a story to tell. You have a mountain to climb, and I know that you have the strength to make it to the top. I will never quit, and neither should you.